My name is Renata. I was 36 years old when my husband of 9 years sat me down on our couch, dressed well, rehearsed, composed, and told me I had gotten ugly. He stopped himself one syllable in, swallowed the word back like that made it kinder. Then he finished the sentence. Unattractive. He said he deserved better. He said I'd let myself go. He looked at me like I was already erased. 2 years later, he was standing at an airport newsstand at 6:40 in the morning when he saw my face on the cover of Vogue. No heavy styling, no filters, just me, naturally glowing, unbothered and undeniable, staring back at him from every rack in that terminal. He thought he was leaving a woman too broken to fight back. Let me tell you how wrong he was. Before we dive in, comment where you're watching from today. And if stories like this speak to you, hit subscribe because tomorrow's story is even more intense. I made his coffee first. 9 years of marriage, and that habit never broke. His cup, then mine, in that order, without thinking. That morning I caught myself mid-pour and just stopped. Held both mugs, set his on the counter by the window where the light hit it wrong, and watched the steam go flat. I didn't pour it out. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to watch something cool down that used to be warm. Maybe I just wasn't ready to throw anything away yet. That was the morning I filed. Let me back up. I'm Renata Okafor, 36 years old. I have a face that strangers call striking, and a voice I learned to keep low in rooms where Darius was performing. I worked, as a marketing coordinator for a regional healthcare company. Mid-level, steady, safe. I took that job because it didn't require travel, and Darius's role as regional sales director required plenty of it. Somebody had to be home. I volunteered, the way you do when you love someone and can't yet see the shape of what you're building around yourself. There's a whole closet in our house. My house, but I'll get to that. And on the top shelf sits a camera bag that hasn't been unzipped in 4 years. 2 lenses, a body I saved up for across 8 careful months, and a light meter my grandmother gave me when I was 25 and still certain about things. The bag has a thin layer of dust on the zipper pull. I noticed it every time I reached past it for a coat. I stopped noticing it eventually. That's the part that should have scared me. Darius was not a loud man. That's important to understand. He didn't throw things, didn't raise his voice. His cruelty was the quiet kind, the kind that makes you think you're being irrational for even calling it cruelty. It lived in size, in the particular way his eyes moved when I walked into a room dressed for something. A long, slow look that stopped just short of a comment. Sometimes the comment came anyway, delivered softly, with the patient tone of a man offering useful feedback to someone he'd given up on. You might want to try that other dress, he said once. Just once. But once is enough when you already know the shape of what he means. Another time, getting ready for his company dinner, I asked if the earrings worked. He looked at me the way you look at a meal you've already decided you're not ordering and said, You've just let yourself go a little, Ren. It's not about the earrings. My hands went still on the clasp. I wore the earrings. I smiled at every one of his colleagues. I laughed at the right moments. And on the drive home, I tried to remember the last time I had felt, in my own body, like something worth looking at. You know what's funny? I had an accounting minor, 4 years of coursework, a natural head for numbers, a professor who told me I had the kind of mind that found patterns other people missed. I filed that information away sometime around year 3 of the marriage, right around the time Darius suggested, gently, reasonably, in that voice he kept for ideas he needed you to believe were yours, that he handle the finances. You're more of a creative, babe. Numbers stress you out. I let him have it. I let him have a lot of things I didn't realize I was handing over. That was the architecture of it. Small rooms, smaller windows, built slow enough that I never noticed the ceiling dropping. 3 nights before that quiet morning in the kitchen, I was washing the dinner dishes when his laptop pinged on the counter behind me. He was in the shower. The sound was nothing. Notifications pinged all the time. But something made me turn. The screen had lit up with a message preview, long enough to read from 3 feet away. You were right. She's not even pretty. I don't know why you stayed so long. Come home. The name at the top was Jade. My hands went still in the dishwater. I didn't open the laptop. I didn't touch it. I dried my hands on the kitchen towel, the blue one with the frayed corner I kept meaning to replace, crossed to the counter and took a photograph of the screen with my phone. Clear. Time-stamped. Every word of it. Then I set his laptop back exactly as it was. I finished the dishes. I turned off the kitchen light. I walked down the hall and climbed into bed beside the man who had said those words to another woman about me. About my face, about my worth, about why he'd bothered to stay. And I lay there with my jaw locked and my eyes wide open, listening to him breathe like a man with nothing to hide. He slept fine. I counted the ceiling tiles until 4 a.m, and then I made a plan. I gave myself 1 minute. That was the deal I made somewhere around 3 a.m, lying there in the dark with my jaw locked and Darius breathing slow and even beside me. 1 minute to fall apart. That was it. After that, I had work to do. The minute came in the car the next morning. I made it to the end of our street before my chest cracked open and the tears hit hard and fast and ugly, the kind that don't care about your face. I gripped the wheel and let them come. 60 seconds, I counted. When the minute was up, I pulled into a gas station parking lot, wiped my face with the back of my hand, checked my eyes in the rearview mirror, and drove to the library. I used a public computer. I didn't want any of this on my phone, my laptop, any device that lived under the same roof as him. 3 hours. I read about marital asset division in our state, about what constituted financial misconduct, about the difference between legal separation and a formal filing. I took notes in a small spiral notebook I bought from the rack near the checkout desk. $3, cash. I still have it. The handwriting is neat. I was very calm by then. I did not confront Darius. Not that day. Not the day after. You know what the worst part was? He didn't notice anything was different. He came home both evenings, poured himself a drink, asked how my day was, and sat in front of the television like a man without a single thing to answer for. I answered. I ate dinner across from him. I said goodnight. I was a ghost in my own kitchen, and he couldn't tell the difference. The third evening, I drove to see my oldest friend, Phyllis Monroe, a semi-retired paralegal who has known me since we were 19 years old and sharing bad dining hall coffee and worse opinions about our futures. Phyllis is not the kind of woman who asks how you're feeling before she asks what you need. I sat at her kitchen table, opened my phone to the photograph of the laptop screen, and set it in front of her without a word. She read it once. Her jaw tightened. That was all. One small shift in the muscle along her face. But I knew Phyllis, and I knew what that meant. How long? She said. I don't know yet, I said. She nodded once, picked up her phone, and made 2 calls right there at the table while I drank the tea she'd poured before I arrived. Because Phyllis always assumes you need something warm. The calls were short. She didn't explain much to either person. Just names, dates, a firm request. When she put the phone down, she looked at me with the particular steadiness of a woman who has spent 30 years in rooms full of bad paperwork. Give me 24 hours, she said. I gave her 24 hours. The following evening, she called me back. Jade wasn't new. That was the first thing. 2.5 years. That was what Phyllis's contact could confirm. 2.5 years of a second life running parallel to our first one, funded in part through a business account Darius had suggested we open jointly 3 years ago for household expense management. His idea. His framing. I'd agreed because he'd asked so reasonably, and because I'd already spent years believing that numbers weren't my thing. I sat with that for a moment. 2.5 years. I tried to place what I was doing 2.5 years ago. I remembered a conference he said he'd attended in Phoenix. A weekend in March, he said, was a client dinner situation that ran long. Small things. A sigh here, a late text there, I'd filed them where I filed everything, away, in a drawer I didn't open, because opening drawers meant asking questions, and asking questions meant not trusting him, and not trusting him felt like the problem was me. My hands went still on the phone. Then I pulled out the spiral notebook. 2 days after that, I went looking for the deed to the house. I'd always known, in a vague way,